Hey guys, Logan Battles here, and welcome to another episode of LBFT, a series where I'm going to be talking about all football-related topics. So for the second episode of LBFT Season 3, I'm going to be doing something different. And I want to preface my comments by saying this. I was originally going to do this episode talking about which NFL teams that I'm predicting will rise to the playoffs, to go to the playoffs, and which NFL teams I believe will fall from reaching the playoffs or even have winning seasons. You know, teams having a winning season this year after having losing seasons either last year or some of the previous years. But after I thought about this long and hard, I realized that it doesn't sound interesting to me. And I decided to not do that and actually change this episode. I decided to change this episode into my predictions on which NFL team I'm predicting will win a division within the NFC and the AFC. And not just that, but also having my predictions for the playoffs, the entire playoff run, which NFL team am I predicting to win for the Super Bowl this year. So, that's what this episode is going to be about. So, without any further ado, let's get right to my predictions for which team that I'm picking to win for each division. Any team that I pick to win any division in any conference. I'm going to start off in the AFC and also starting with the AFC North. This might be a bold pick in most people's eyes. But I'm going to say it. I'm picking the Pittsburgh Steelers to win the AFC North, going 12-4 and 4-2 in the AFC North Division, and below them, below the number 3 seeded Pittsburgh Steelers, are the number 5 seeded Cleveland Browns. That's right. I'm picking the Cleveland Cavaliers to go to the playoffs. I'm picking them as one of the teams to go to the playoffs, as one of the wildcard games, one of the 2 wildcard teams in the AFC to go to the playoffs. I have them going 11-5 and 4-2 as well in the AFC North Division. So yeah, those are the 2 teams within the AFC North that I'm picking to go to the playoffs. One of them winning the division, the other being a wildcard team. To go to a wild card round and play in that round. I have the Ravens and Cincinnati Bengals losing seasons. I think the Ravens will bounce way back from where they were last year based on how they looked in their last playoff game against the Chargers. I just don't see how they'll get better. I just don't see it. And the Cincinnati Bengals, different roster and coaching staff, same old story though. Moving on to the AFC South, I have the Houston Texans winning the AFC South division, going 9-7, which is not a great record by NFL standards, but it's serviceable for a division winner to have. And then being 3-3 in the division, within the division, the Jacksonville Jaguars, even with Nick Foles added as their new quarterback replacement for Nick Foles, or not Nick Foles, Blake Bortles, I mean, I don't know how they'll get better offensively. Defensively, they'll be elite. I know that, but I don't know how impressive they would be offensively with Nick Foles, being added as their quarterback from the Eagles. The Indianapolis Colts will have a huge drop-off this year after them losing their franchise quarterback, Nick Foles, to retirement just a week and a half before the season started. I just don't know how that will get better after that happened. Tennessee Titans, I don't have much confidence within them. I don't have very much belief within them. I don't believe in their quarterback, Marcus Mariota, or as I like to call him, Marcus Mediocre, because that's who he is. He's mediocre. He's not a good quarterback. That's just me, though. Moving on to the AFC East. I mean, come on now. Come on now. Who else did you think was going to win the AFC East? Come on now. You know who's going to win. We all know who's going to win the AFC East. The New England Patriots. The AFC East has been a complete laughingstock of a division for years. It's been a laughingstock of a division for years. No other team within the AFC East has been able to beat the Patriots. Maybe the New York Jets when Mark Sanchez was there quarterbacking this team at one point or two. But outside of that, no other AFC East team has been able to dethrone the Patriots to win the AFC East. That's how pathetic the AFC East is as a division. One of the worst divisions in the NFL. New York Jets, I mean, with Sam Darnold and Le'Veon Bell, who came from the Pittsburgh Steelers, we have never seen both of them play together yet. So let's see how they turn out. Although I do have them going 7-9, so not a good season, I would say. Miami Dolphins, with their new quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick, as well as Josh Rosen, probably as their backup quarterback to Ryan Fitzpatrick. I don't know how they'll be good. They could be one of the top teams to get a first-round pick. Maybe a top 5 overall picks. One of the top 5 overall picks in the NFL draft for the 2020 draft. I believe so, yeah. As well as the Buffalo Bills. They'll have one of the worst records in the NFL, by far. Just like they had over the last few years. Moving on to the AFC West. I'm still rolling with the Kansas City Chiefs to win the AFC West. Going 13-3 and 5-1 within the division. Because last year they were 12-4, I believe, if I remember correctly. I'm predicting them to have one more win than that this year. The Chargers, I mean, they'll have a win or two less than they had last year because, like the Kansas City Chiefs, they also went 12-4 last year. I don't expect them to be just as good this year, if not better, than they were last year. In terms of the totality of wins that they could potentially get. But I still pick them to go to the playoffs as one of the wildcard teams alongside the Cleveland Browns. The Chargers being the number 6 seeded team within the AFC playoffs. So those are the 4. So those are all my predictions for all the AFC division teams to win and or be a wildcard team. Let's move on to the NFC, starting with the NFC North. This might also be a bold prediction on my part in most people's eyes, but guys, I'm going with the Green Bay Packers. I'm picking them to win the NFC North. That might not be a good prediction. It might actually be a wrongful prediction, but I'm still going with it. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say the Packers will win the NFC North, not the Chicago Bears, who who, by the way, I'm picking them, not only not picking them to win the NFC North, but I also don't pick them to go to the playoffs this year like they were last year. I know, that's crazy. It's crazy on my part that I'm not having them to be one of the teams to go to the playoffs, which is insane. But, I mean, even though I have a huge respect for their defense, who are led by the Mac Daddy himself, Khalil Mack, I still have huge question marks about Mitchell Trubisky as their quarterback. This is not looking good for him based on what we saw him from, what was it, yesterday's season opening game between the Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears. Last year. Or no, not last year. Yesterday is what I meant. Based on how he performed in that game, this is not gonna look like a good season for him and the Chicago Bears offense. But it is what it is. I don't see the Minnesota Vikings going to have a winning season this year, even with Dalvin Cook as one of the most underrated running backs in the NFL. As a matter of fact, I could go as far as to say he was one of the most underrated, one of the most overlooked running backs as a Heisman Trophy candidate. Nobody has mentioned Dalvin Cook as a Heisman Trophy candidate, and it's a damn shame that they didn't, because he put up big numbers that he could have easily won the Heisman had he not, despite having some injury back when he was playing at Florida State. But that's just me. It was a disgrace that he was not mentioned as a Heisman Trophy candidate in my eyes. Detroit Lions, same franchise, same quarterback, same old story. They're not going to be that impressive this year. I don't see any improvement whatsoever from them. So you can forget them. Moving on to the NFC South. I'm still rolling with the Saints to win the NFC South. I have them going 13-3 and 4-2 within the division, which I think the 13-3. They were also 13-3 last year, were they? Or no, 12-4. I can't remember which record they went. It was either 12-4 or 13-3. Maybe 13-3. Yeah, I think it was 13-3. Okay, never mind. This might be Drew Brees' last year of playing within the NFL, because they have not been able, since they won a Super Bowl, they hadn't been able to reach their second, let alone win it. But if the Saints, I believe that the Saints will come out hard and strong and be the team to beat within the NFC South, if not the entire NFC. And then I have the Atlanta Falcons being one of the wildcard teams to go to the playoffs. That's right. Improving from last year when they had a plethora of injuries on many talented players that did cause them a chance to go to the playoffs. I don't expect that to happen again this year. I have them going 11-5 and 3-3 within the division, being the number 6 seeded team to go to the playoffs. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they might go. I'm picking them to go 9-7, 2-4 within the division. I'm rooting for Jameis Winston. I've been a huge Jameis Winston fan ever since he won a national championship with my Florida State Seminoles. I'm rooting for him. I hope he gets better, not just on the turnover thing, but on multiple things that he does: passing, running, scrambling out of the pocket, throwing the ball accurately down the field. I mean, all of it. But, I mean, Bruce Arians might help him out with those things, but I don't know if they'll be able to do that. Carolina Panthers, I don't know what to say other than they're not going to be. They're going to have a lot of problems within the season, health-wise, with Cam Newton having an injury, as well as the entire offense, whether it's the receiving core or the running game or the entire offensive line. There are huge question marks going on around about them for this season. Moving on to the NFC East, I have the Philadelphia Eagles winning the NFC East, going 11-5, 4-2 within the division. And I think that was also the record they had last year, 11-5. No, it was 9-7. My bad. It was 9-7 they went last year. I expect the Eagles to have a better record than that this year. Dallas Cowboys. Not only am I not picking them to win the NFC East, but I'm also not predicting them to go to the playoffs this year. I'm not even picking them to go to the playoffs this year. Yeah, I know. Similar to what I said about the Chicago Bears, not picking them to be one of the teams to go to the playoffs this year. Insane, right? Yeah, I mean, you got Dak Prescott, you got Ezekiel Elliott, you got Amari Cooper, you got Randall Cobb, you got you got that defense with Leighton Vander Esch and Jalen Smith? Or I was probably thinking of the other guy, but anyway, just that defense just that big D defense. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys are loaded. They have a lot of talent on their team. I get it, but I don't know how they're going to be able to deal with a loaded NFC that could potentially beat the Cowboys, giving them enough losses to make them miss the playoffs this year. Washington Redskins, I don't have much confidence within them. Even with this dude, Dwayne Haskins, I don't know how he'll be able to deal with the dysfunctionality that is going on within the nation's capital. I just don't see it. As well as the New York Giants. What a dysfunctional franchise. One of the worst teams in the NFL by far in the last couple of years. Missing the playoffs, 7 out of the last 9 years? That's just pathetic. I just have zero belief within them whatsoever. And then last, but certainly not least, I have moving on to the NFC West division, I have the Rams, the Los Angeles Rams, winning the NFC West yet again. Yes, that's right. I'm picking them to go 12-4, 4-2 within the division. I think they were 13-3 last year, right? Yeah, I think it was 13-3 that they went last year. I expect it to be at least one game or two lower than that. I would say one game lower than that this year. But they'll still be good. They'll still be really good to go to the playoffs. I also have the Seattle Seahawks going to the playoffs as well. Going 11-5, or 4-2 within the division. Yeah, I have them as one of the wildcard teams to go to the playoffs, right beside the Atlanta Falcons. The Arizona Cardinals, with Kyler Murray, similar to what I said about Dwayne Haskins with the Washington Redskins. I don't know how Kyler Murray is going to dealt with much that is going on around Arizona, the Cardinals of Arizona. Arizona, I can't speak. And San Francisco 49ers, why am I hearing a lot of people giving the 49ers a lot of wins? 9-7, 10-6, or 11-5. I don't understand for the life of me why a lot of people are giving them a winning season this year. I don't get it. Like, what are y'all people looking at? I'm like, are you serious? I mean, come on now. I don't trust Kyle Shanahan. I don't trust Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't trust that offensive line. I damn sure don't believe in that offensive line whatsoever. I see zero evidence whatsoever that the San Francisco 49ers would be better this year than they were last year. Because the last couple of years, they were awful. They were one of the worst teams in the NFL by far. Zero evidence I have seen whatsoever to prove me otherwise about the San Francisco 49ers. So those are my NFL division predictions. Those are the teams that I pick to go to win the divisions. I picked the Steelers to win the AFC North Division. I picked the Green Bay Packers to win the NFC North. I picked the Houston Texans to win the AFC South. I picked the New Orleans Saints to win the NFC South. I picked the New England Patriots, obviously, to win the AFC East. I picked the Philadelphia Eagles to win the NFC East, not the Dallas Cowboys. I picked the AFC West, I picked the Kansas City Chiefs to win the AFC West, and I picked the Los Angeles Rams to win the NFC West. Now that I got the divisions, now that I got my NFL division predictions out of the way, let's get to the playoffs. That's right. I got the playoffs right into my hands. Right into my predictions. I don't know what that was. I apologize. But anyway. So, let's look at the wildcard round that I already set up. Let's start off from the top. I have the number 5 seeded Cleveland Browns going up against the number 4 seeded Houston Texans. I got the number 6 seeded Los Angeles Chargers going up against the number 3 seeded Pittsburgh Steelers. Moving on to the NFC wildcard round, I had the number 6 seeded Atlanta Falcons going up against the number 3 seeded Los Angeles Rams. And I had the number 5 seeded Seattle Seahawks going up against the number 4 seeded Philadelphia Eagles. That's my entire wildcard round. Let's get into which team that I'm picking to win. 4 teams I'm picking to win 4 of these wildcard games. I'm starting with the Browns-Texans game. I'm going with the Browns. Yeah, I know. I'm picking a Browns team that has never been to the playoffs since 2002. A Cleveland Browns franchise, a franchise that has not won a playoff game since the mid-90s. I think it was the mid-90s. I think it was the mid-90s since they last won a playoff game. I think so. Anyway, yeah, that's right. I'm picking a team that has Baker Mayfield in his second year as a starter for the Browns. A team that has Odell Beckham Jr. being traded from the New York Giants. A team that has also Jarvis Landry, who Odell Beckham Jr. went with in college back at LSU. Nick Chubb out of Georgia. And then Kareem Hunt also being another running back for the Browns, who, by the way, for those of you that don't know, got released by the Kansas City Chiefs due to the release of the TMZ video of him kicking a woman at a hotel. It was back in, I believe it was January or February. It was in one of those months that took place. And then the Browns, not too long after the Chiefs released Kareem Hunt, not too long after that, they got Kareem Hunt added to their roster. That's right. So I'm going with the Browns to beat the Texans, moving up, having them move within the divisional round. Getting to the Chargers-Steelers game, I'm going with the Steelers to beat the Chargers. The Chargers might be good enough to give the Pittsburgh Steelers a run for their money, like they did the last time both of these teams met. I believe the final score was 33-30. 33-30. I see the Pittsburgh Steelers beating the Chargers this year, or not just this year, but in this wild card game that I'm predicting. I have them moving on to the divisional round. Moving on to the NFC, a wild card round, starting with the Falcons-Rams game. I'm going to go with the Falcons to beat the Rams. Yeah, that's right. A loaded Atlanta Falcons offense with Matt Ryan, Calvin Ridley, and Devontae Freeman, and the best wide receiver arguably in football, that is Julio Jones, and this other wide receiver or tight end or running back. I don't know. I forgot his name, but he's really good, as well as the other guys that I mentioned. I'm picking them to beat the Rams with Jared Goff, with Todd Gurley, and with Aaron Donald, arguably the best defensive player in the game of football. So yeah, that's right. I have the Falcons moving on to the divisional round. And then the last wild card game, the Seahawks versus the Eagles. This might be a hot, or not, I wouldn't say not hot. This might be a bold pick, and a very tough one, I will say. But I'm going with the Seahawks to beat the Eagles. Yeah, that's right. I'm picking the Seattle Seahawks with Russell Wilson as their franchise quarterback to beat the Philadelphia Eagles at Lincoln Financial Field. Yeah, I know, that's nuts on my part. I don't think anybody would pick the Seahawks over the Eagles, considering the Eagles might be a better overall team than the Seahawks. I get that. But it's hard to bet against the Seahawks with Russell Wilson being at his best. It's hard to bet against that type of team and that type of quarterback that Russell Wilson used to be. So that's my entire wild card round that I have. I have the Browns beating the Texans. I have the Steelers beating the Chargers. I have the Falcons beating the Rams, and I have the Seahawks beating the Eagles. So that's the entire wild card round. Let's move on to the entire divisional round. I'm going to start off with the AFC divisional round, and then I'll move on to the NFC divisional round. Let's get to the top. I have the number 5 seeded Cleveland Browns going up against the number 1 seeded Kansas City Chiefs. I have the number 3 seeded Pittsburgh Steelers going up against the number 2 seeded New England Patriots. So that's my whole AFC divisional round. Let's get to the NFC divisional round. I have the number 6 seeded Atlanta Falcons going up against the number 1 seeded New Orleans Saints. And I have the number 5 seeded Seattle Seahawks going up against the number 2 seeded Green Bay Packers with that bad man, that he is Aaron Rodgers. Now that's right. Um, so that's my entire divisional round, and I'm going to pick 4 teams to win 4 of these games, having 4 of them move on to the conference championships. I'm going to start off with the Chiefs-Browns game. I'm going with the Chiefs to beat the Browns, having them move on to the conference, being one of the teams to compete with in the AFC Championship. The Browns have a talented roster on the offensive side of the ball. Like I said, Baker Mayfield, Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt. I mean, that's a loaded offense. I mean, my God, woo, man. But I can't say that the Browns will beat the Chiefs only because the Chiefs have the most explosive wide receiver in Tyreek Hill, the best tight end in football, that is Travis Kelce, and the reigning defending league MVP Patrick Mahomes, who, by the way, made 50 freaking touchdowns last year. Last year. I mean, wow. And almost made, or maybe it was over 5,000 passing yards that he made last year, or if not almost 5,000 passing yards. Either way, I just think Kansas City Chiefs offense would be too much for the Browns to handle defensively, and because Kansas City Chiefs have an explosive offense, I'm going with the Chiefs to win this game, but barely, because I do think this will be a tight game by within the last 5 minutes of the game, I would say. So, moving on to the Steelers-Patriots game. Having the number 3 seeded Steelers going up against the number 2 seeded Patriots. I'm going with the Patriots to win this game. Just barely. Like I said about the Chiefs-Browns game, where I picked the Chiefs to barely beat the Browns. I'm doing the same way with the Patriots barely beating the Steelers. I also think this will be a tight game to watch by at least the last, I would say, 7 to 6 minutes left of the game. That's why I'm rolling with it. It's incredibly, it's almost impossible to beat the New England Patriots at Foxborough in the playoffs. Now, unless you're Mark Sanchez, who beat Peyton Manning and Tom Brady on the road in the playoffs, it's incredibly difficult to go on the road, play at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts, and beat the Patriots at their home turf with Tom Brady as the quarterback and Bill Belichick as the head coach. That's incredibly tough to do. But I will get into who I think will represent the AFC to go to the Super Bowl in just a minute. But let's get to the NFC divisional round. Starting with the Saints-Falcons game. Who do I think will win that game? I think the Saints will win that game. I have Drew Brees, Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, and Sean Payton winning that game against the Falcons with Matt Ryan and the rest of the crew. The names I already mentioned earlier, just a few minutes ago. It's hard to bet against the Saints at their home turf. It's really tough to win at New Orleans, in New Orleans. It's just really hard to do. They're one of the toughest teams to beat at their home turf. They're one of the toughest home teams to beat, I should say. So yeah, I have the Saints beating the Falcons. Let's get to the last divisional round game that I'm going to be predicting. The Seahawks versus the Packers. It's going to be a really good game. It would be a really good game, and it's hard for me to say because both of them would be talented, and it would probably be too close to call. But I'm going with the Packers. I'm going with the Packers to beat the Seahawks, and it's because I believe that the Packers will be trailing the Seahawks within at least 3.5 quarters of the game, and then Aaron Rodgers. I'm picking Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers offense to score either a field goal or a touchdown to win the game before time expires. As the time runs out, Aaron Rodgers, I'm predicting, will score the game-winning touchdown, and if not that, then he'll have his team close enough to get a game-winning field goal to win the game, like they did at Dallas one time. So yeah, I have the Packers beating the Seahawks. So that's my entire divisional round. Let's get to the conference championships. I have the number two. I'll start off with the AFC championship. I have the 2-seeded New England Patriots going up against the 1-seeded Kansas City Chiefs. Last year, the Kansas City Chiefs were hosting the New England Patriots at Kansas City in Chiefs Stadium. What was it? Chiefs Stadium or no? I forgot what the stadium is called, but yeah, I have that matchup going on this year, and I have the Green Bay Packers going to New Orleans and face Drew Brees and the Saints. But I'll get to which AFC team that I'm picking to represent the AFC to go to the Super Bowl between the Chiefs and the Patriots. This might be the toughest game that I have ever give a prediction to. It's incredibly difficult to bet against Tom Brady and the Patriots because they continuously prove time and time and time and time and time again that they can beat teams when nobody have ever expected them to. But in this case, I'm picking the Chiefs to beat the Patriots. That's right, I said it. I don't expect the New England Patriots to go to the Super Bowl this year for the 4th straight time. The New England Patriots going to a 4th consecutive Super Bowl, that would be enough for me to say, okay, I'm done with the NFL. This keeps on happening, and I'm getting sick of seeing the Patriots going to the Super Bowl. I want to see other AFC teams besides the Patriots going to the Super Bowl, like the Chiefs or the Chargers or the Steelers or any other AFC team to go to the Super Bowl. I just want to see other teams, not the Patriots, to go to the Super Bowl. So I'm just going with my gut here. I have a good feeling that the Chiefs will upset the Patriots. And I have the Chiefs to represent the AFC to go to the Super Bowl. So hate on me all you want. That's fine. I'll take it. Especially from you Patriots fans and Tom Brady fans. And then get to the NFC Championship. Packers versus the Saints. This is also one of the... oh boy. I hate to bet against Aaron Rodgers because I never bet against Aaron Rodgers, especially in the fourth quarter of a game, or when his team is trailing to their opponent. Whenever his team is down by either 3 points, 4 points, or even 6 points, when his team is trailing within the last few minutes of the game, I believe in Aaron Rodgers getting it done, scoring a game-winning touchdown, having a game-winning drive. I do not bet against Aaron Rodgers within the last few minutes of a football game. And nobody should either, because he has proven, in a similar way to Tom Brady, he has proven that he can lead his teams to victories before time expires. So, I mean, picking the Packers to beat the Saints, that's incredibly hard to do for me. I think the Saints are... You might argue that the Saints are an overall better team than the Green Bay Packers, and I can see that argument. You know what? Not just that, but I think I also would agree that the Saints might have an overall better team, offensively and defensively, than the Packers. So, but because I have the Packers playing at New Orleans, and Green Bay has some question marks on some parts of its roster, offensive line, receiving core, running game, defense, coaching staff. I'm going to go with the Saints. I'm picking the Saints to go to beat the Packers and represent the NFC to go to the Super Bowl. And that, ladies and gentlemen, leads to my Super Bowl picks. The Kansas City Chiefs representing the AFC, and the New Orleans Saints representing the NFC. NFC. Both of them playing in Super Bowl 54. Those are my two Super Bowl picks. So I have the Kansas City Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce going up against the New Orleans Saints with Drew Brees, Michael Thomas, and Alvin Kamara, or Kamara, however you say his last name, in the Super Bowl. Oh my God, this is even more harder than I thought. Oh man, I don't even know. Oh good Lord, I have to think twice about this before I make my pick to win the Super Bowl, because this would be a great matchup. This would be a great Super Bowl matchup to watch. Don't you think? Don't you guys think? Oh boy. Ugh. Man. That's tough. Damn. Who do I pick to be the Super Bowl champions this year? Oh boy. As much as I love Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Tyreek Hill, and how formidable the Kansas City Chiefs are with them offensively, I think the Saints are going to win the Super Bowl. They're going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs to win the Super Bowl for the second time, with Drew Brees and Sean Payton winning their second Super Bowl in their entire run in New Orleans with the Saints. And then Drew Brees announced his retirement after the end of that game. Well, sometime after that game. Yeah, I have the New Orleans Saints being this year's Super Bowl champions, beating the Kansas City Chiefs in Super Bowl 53. Those are my That is my entire playoff prediction. Those are my entire playoff predictions. Yeah, it's crazy, really insane. Yeah. So, yeah, guys, those are all of my predictions for the 2019 through 20 NFL divisions and playoffs. Which teams I picked to win to win their divisions, and which team that I picked, to go through the playoffs to go to the Super Bowl and win it. So, that is all for now, guys. If you enjoyed this episode, please give it a like button, and don't forget to. And if you'd like to see future episodes of LBFT from me, be sure to click that subscribe button, and don't forget to turn on that bell icon so that you'll get notified about my latest LBFT episode. I will see you guys in the next episode of LBFT. Have a great week, Battle Squad, and as always, fight the good fight.